Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, the dope ass dude, and I'm so excited to be back on tonight with you guys. And we're going to go ahead and get these preliminary things out of the way. You already know, if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you don't mind going ahead, subscribing to the YouTube channel now. And while you're there, click on notifications so that you can be notified each and every time a new video is uploaded to the site. And then while you're there, go ahead and click on like so that it can be shared with others just like you. Now, if you aren't able to, so you can watch the video, the podcast live each Monday on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Again, you can watch it on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. And if you're unable to watch it on Mondays, you can always catch it on the go. It's on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Again, you can always catch it on the go at Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Another thing, if you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok, if you don't mind following me on both of those platforms, I can be found at the Dope Ass Dude Podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. And preliminary things for Paul on tonight, you can follow him on Instagram at preach_Garrett, and that's spelled PREECH_Garrett, or you can follow him on TikTok at preach1. So let's go back through that again. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Dope Ass Dude Podcast, and you can follow Paul on Instagram at preach_Garrett, and on TikTok, preach1. So a little bit about Paul, and this was a divine connection. How he and I met. Back in November, I had lunch with a good friend of mine, Gay Arbuckle, and she chose saladas. And the weather was kind of muggy outside and everything. And I went and I met her at lunch, and we're sitting there, and Gay was sharing with me her plans for 2025. And of course, I was inspired by it. And we had just talked about something that Paul was the connecting piece to making it happen. I had just asked her, I was like, hey, Gay, if you found a church that was willing to partner with you to allow you to have your conferences at their church leading up to your main conference, would you do it? And she was like, absolutely. And it was like no longer than 3 to 5 minutes, Paul come walking through the door. And when he walks through the door, he sees Gay and she sees him, and you could tell that they've seen each other before, something like that. But Paul go ahead and order his food. I go to the restroom. I come back. Paul is at the table, and they are talking. And Paul is a pastor. He's a father, and he's a business strategist. But he's a pastor, and he's a proud father. And while they were sitting there talking, I just came back to the table. I sit down, and I realized Paul was a pastor. And it's like, it felt right to me at this moment. So I asked Paul, I was like, hey, would your church be willing to partner with Gay on one of her conferences? And Paul was like, absolutely. We would love to. She just show up, do her thing. We got everything else. And in that moment, you never know if things are going to manifest. You never know if things are going to happen like it happened. But that moment has proven to be a divine connection, because Gay had the event at Paul's church, and it was simply amazing. It was simply amazing. Paul, he is an extraordinary person. I watch his content, and he's super inspiring. And he is a pastor of a growing church here in Dallas that has no limits, and they are a free place of worship. And he and I was just talking, and he was telling me how his church is a safe space for people who are transitioning. Maybe you've been hurt at your church and you need a safe space, and his church offers that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Paul on now so he can talk about himself.
What up?
Paul, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my brother. I mean, just thinking about it, like I said, when we were in Sonatas, man, we did not know, this was going to happen. We didn't know
Right.
any of that, but that just shows you how God is, man. So
Absolutely.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, man, I am a perfectionist who likes to lead others in a unique way towards their line of resistance towards a victory. Right. So I'm basically, man, I lead people past the things that's holding them up from getting a breakthrough. And so we do that in very different ways and different strategies, but it's fun. We're gonna be creative with it, but you're gonna win. I will guarantee you're gonna win.
I love that. I love that. So, so is this, I know you practice this principle in your business sector. Do you practice this same principle in your church?
Absolutely. The thing about it is, it's all ministry for me. So the business just is an extension of the ministry. So I can always be my authentic self. I don't have to switch it up and be like, oh, this is my church hat, this is my business hat. No, it's me, period. So whether we're in a fellowship hall doing a training or Bible study, or whether we're in a boardroom or a conference hall, you're going to get the same thing.
Wow. And I know leadership is something that is super important to you. You speak to a lot of leaders across the country. Like, what drives you to want to equip and encourage leaders? Like, what is that all about?
Man, that's a great question. And that's because everything rises and falls on leadership. And if we can raise the lid and the level and the consciousness of our leaders, now we're providing more room for those that we're leading and developing. And also now you can attract higher level thinkers, right? So we all have a goal. We all have a vision, right? But sometimes we need help in actually on how to strategize, how to communicate it, and then understanding the people we're leading. I think we've all been in a situation, whether it's work related or even a church, where the leader is the top dog, right? And everything is based on who that leader is. Well, I like to reverse engineer and turn the pyramid upside down and teach the leaders on how to be servant leaders, where my customer is my direct report. And that's who I serve on down to that client.
Okay, now, and I know you're pastor. So in the church, is that a hard transition for pastors to like really transition their mind into a servant role? I know they're supposed to be there, but
it's a reminder. Let's say that it's a reminder that our job is to serve and not to be served. And so in those conversations, the first people I talk to before I even talk with the people, the first thing I do is an assessment and a meeting on that pastor. And we have a conversation because I need to make sure they know what's to come, make sure I know where their mindset is and how they want to, what type of leader they want to be. And so once we're able to address those things, then we're able to now bring it to the forefront of the people. So the last thing I want to do is embarrass a pastor in front of his people. It's never the intent. I'm there to build up and there to help them say some things they can't say and get the people on the right path to where we're trying to go.
Okay, and then you just said something that is really key. You said you ask the question, you ask them what type of leader do they want to be? Like, do you ever find that some pastors don't, and not even just pastors, some leaders don't know what type of leader they want to be because they've never put thought into that?
Absolutely. And some of them are delusional. Some think they're one type of way, and they totally the opposite. And some you wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there are some pastors who take their leadership positions from their secular job and bring that into the church, and it's not working. And they have no clue. But however, what we're able to do is to bring those things to light, address it in a fun, humorous, but educational way. And then we can set the direction on where it needs to be. And so we do that, by way with an assessment and things like that. So some people are just unaware.
Okay. So that brings up another question, Paul. I mean, you give me a lot of questions here today.
All right, let's do it.
So how do you know you're a good leader or you suck as a leader? Because there's a lot of leaders that actually suck, but they think they are the best ever. So how do you know you suck as a leader?
So leadership is influence, right? So one of the things I always say, if you think you are a leader and you're leading good, but nobody's following, you're just taking a walk. Of course, there's different levels to leadership on why people follow you. But for me, the main goal, and my main goal, is that people follow me for who I am and not what I do. And that's the integral part, that you want people to follow simply because of who you are. Why? Because you bring results, you lift their level of productivity. Your integrity inspires them to want to be better. And that's the thing. I want to get to a place where people call me not because of what I do, but because of who I am.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you another question, Paul. So I didn't, this is supposed to be a conversation, but you got me asking all these questions.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, okay. So I've served in leadership in churches before, right? So I've served in minister music before, whatever. And I go to the pastor and I say, hey, pastor, because, I want to make sure that the music ministry is in line with the pastor's vision, right? So I say, hey, pastor, what's the vision for the church? And the normal response that I always get would be, oh, well, this year we're focusing on evangelism, or we're focusing on kingdom building. And I'll be wanting to say, what the heck does that mean? Like they give these generic answers for where we're going. Like, so how important is vision, having a vision as a leader? How important is that?
Man,
that you can explain and articulate?
It's very important, because the Bible speaks, where there's no vision, the people perish, right? And so that word perish does not mean the lost sensation of life. In the Hebrew, that word perish means to live without regard. So if I can't connect with the vision and you haven't made the vision plain, then I don't know what to say no to in regard to where we're going. I have to have clear understanding of what the vision is, so I'll know what to say no to. Other than that, I'm open to anything because I have no direction. So at Freedom, my vision is to create an atmosphere and an environment where whomever can come in and be freed of whatever. Now, how do we do it?
Okay, there you go. You answer. Go ahead.
How do we do that? Well, what governs that is the core values: faith, hope, love, and joy. That governs our decisions, that govern our communication, that governs how we do it. So it's not just to have vision, you have to have core values that's going to govern what you do in relation to the vision. And so after we repeat the vision, then I go through the core value. So guys, one of the things I say again, our vision here at Freedom is to create an atmosphere and environment where whomever can come and be free of whatever. We're going to do that by faith. Why? Because the just shall live by, and they say faith. Everything we get it by what? Faith. And we're going to demonstrate what to everybody? Love, right? And joy is not just an emotion. It's an atmosphere as well. And so we create that by having a freedom expression of worship, where you have the freedom to worship your Father however the Spirit leads you without restriction. Okay. So it goes into our mission statement, because we got a mission statement as well.
Okay. Paul came equipped, like I gave him a list of questions, but I did not. This is our organic.
Yeah. This is what I learned from a leader, right? Our mission is not to build and grow a mega church. Our mission is to build and grow mega ministry. And so everyone in our church, I believe everyone has a purpose. So we create opportunity for everybody to fulfill their God-given purpose. And in ministry, so if God giving you the music ministry, or if God is giving you a men's ministry, women's ministry, it's my job to provide space for that. So let's sit and talk. What is your vision? What did God give you? Now, how does that relate to what we're doing and how we're doing it here? Now, it's my job to get you the resources. And that's how we build. That's how we build. So Freedom is not just a place for people who likes to sit on the back pew. We're not that church. Okay. We're that church that's going to push you to fulfill your God-given talent and gifting.
So let me ask you this here, Paul. So you said that Freedom is, you guys have created a safe space. And I think church is supposed to be a safe space. It really is supposed to be a safe space. But what happens when someone comes in that looks different than you? Because we live in a world now where church is faced with so many things. So many things. And a lot of churches aren't equipped to deal with or love people that look different than us, or the outward looks different than us, because we don't know what's on the inside. We just see someone so how does your church like truly welcome people in without judgment?
It's not our job to judge, and that's one of the things that we teach. Judge. It's not for us to judge. That's the Holy Spirit's job, and that's the Word's job. The Father said, "I've committed all judgment to my Son," and then the Son said, "I've committed all judgment to the Word." So it's the Word that judges, and it's the Holy Spirit that comes and convict. It's our job to love. So let us focus on our job and allow room for the Holy Spirit to do its job, and let the Word does its job. And so one of the things I emphasize to all our leaders in our church, whenever there's a visitor, then every leader should touch that person. We create an atmosphere and environment where no one should come in our church and not be touched. We want everyone to feel welcome and loved, and that's a priority, because that's what established our church family, was love. And that was this is the thing that we pride ourselves on, is making sure we create a loving environment.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, because like I said, I think that is something that churches struggle with nowadays, is the fact that like I said, when someone comes in and they look different and or their characteristics is one way, we tend to shun them a little bit, and then those people may never ever come back because of the way we made them feel. Wow, I love that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's, again, we're dealing with people, right? And so we create that atmosphere and environment, and it becomes an expectation. So we already know, given the type church we are, we're going to attract those that have been overlooked. We are going to attract those that have been cast down, and we welcome it, because it's like, okay, well, here's a space, and we're going to give you every opportunity for the Holy Spirit to work, and we're going to see what it produces. And it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Nice. So let's talk about this here, Paul, because I know that you are an advocate for transformation and changing of the mind. So how do someone, what is the process of transforming of the mind, of transforming your mind?
Oh man, that's a great question. So one of the things that we deal with and focus on, number one, is the paradigms. What shaped your behavior, right? How do you perceive things in your environment? How do you manage your time? How do you look at creativity and productivity? What is your logical thinking process? What's your ability to earn and make money and things like that, right? So we look at these things, and so we investigate without placing blame on how these paradigms were formed and how they're controlling and using your mind, your subconscious behavior, and how you're making decisions, right? And so sometimes we're hitting a wall in our life because of these paradigms that we didn't choose. They were given to us by our parents, the environment, situations that we were raised in that formed that thought process, right? And so again, we change the paradigm, and we get that breakthrough, right, through emotional impact and then a repetition of ideas, right? What's this thing? So one of the processes and strategies I use, number one, is we need to change your story. And sometimes it's our story that's keeping us held back, because we keep saying the same thing over and over on why we're in the situation we're in. So the story produces a certain thought, and the thought produces a certain programming. And now you're approaching everything in your life based off this story, right? Did it happen to you or whatever? Absolutely. But it's now hindering you. The story is the glue of keeping you stuck. And so the first thing, again, we go in and look at these paradigms, look at what shaped them, and then find out what result are you actually looking for? What's the goal? And so we change the story to get you focused on the result and get you emotionally attached to the result. It's no different than if I was to say, hey, man, that big sign out there on 35 said the lottery is at $860 million. The first thing you do is start thinking of all the possibilities if I had $860 million. So what happened? You expanded your mind because you're changing the story. Because now you're looking at what's possible. So now if we can change your story, guess the second thing we change your state of mind. Once I'm able to change your state of mind, because you're emotionally attached to the result that's releasing good endorphins, now we can write the vision and make it plain. Now we can put the plan together. What's this step? What's that step? What's this step? What's that step? And then now we can come up with a strategy that's going to get you that paradigm shift that's going to deliver the result that you're looking for. So the breakthrough, the key is change your story. That'll change your state, and it's going to deliver the best strategy. Most of the time, what we do before we change the story, we're trying to get a strategy. How many times have we gotten a strategy and we keep hitting the same wall? It's because we keep saying the same story. We live in a word-controlled atmosphere and an environment. Everything is controlled by what you say.
But that seems so easy to do, Paul. When you're saying it, it's like it's easy to say. I mean, it seems so easy to do, but it's a challenge for people because, like you said, these are things, and I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Four Agreement. They talk about that a little bit in the book, that these are things that in the book it describes as morals. It's our parents' fears, their lessons, their failures, and they teach us these things to prevent us from making some of the same mistakes. So we go our entire lives not stepping out of the box because that's all we know. So it's easy to say, well, change your story, but it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. So, like, what steps can people take to change their story?
So the first thing is focus on the result. It's all about where your focus is, right? I can sit up here and sit and sulk in my story and talk about every day how I grew up in a drug infested house, how I didn't have to leave the house to learn how to cook drugs. I learned it right there in the house, and how I lived and grew up around addicts, how we were on welfare back when they had the food stamps, right? The brown one was $1, the blue one was $5, the purple one was $10, and the green one was $20. When I can focus on that when we were hungry and had to depend on somebody to bring us food. I can focus on the fact that we had to walk everywhere or have a bus pass or stand on the bus until the bus driver just drove, said, okay, come on, or somebody put money in there, where I'm ripping transfers to make them work for me all day and maybe even the next day. I can talk about how many hours I spent downtown and I learned the game from being hustled on the street by McDonald's. So if I focus on that, all that is doing is putting me in a gap space. So what is it I want? What's the result that I'm looking for, right? I can't go back and change that. But if I can focus now on where I'm wanting to go. Now, how I get you emotionally tied to that is asking you, hey, what result you looking for? Well, I would like this. Would you really? Yeah. Tell me, how would you feel if you had that right now? I would feel great. I would feel this. Would you really feel good about it? Yeah. So tell me, help me understand. What's the first thing you feel like you would need to do? What's the second thing you feel like you would need to do? Now you tell me what's the third thing. The answer's on the inside of you. How we transform the mind, though, we got to do it repeatedly, over and over and over. And now you got to say what it is you want and say who it is, who you are. Yes. Does it sound like it's hard? Yes. But things you can tolerate, you can't change. And I'm a firm believer in Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present yourself, your body, a sacrifice, holy and acceptable and pleasing to God. In other words, you have to present you holy. You have to present you acceptable. How do I present myself? It's what I say. So my holiness is not dependent on a demand on my life or my performance. My holiness is a description of who I am because I'm like him. My blameless and acceptability is a description of who I am. Then that second verse says, and be not conformed to this world. That word world comes from the Greek word cosmos. It's where we get the words cosmetics, makeup. You put makeup on to cover up what's real. It's props. It's fake. So be not conformed to the fake world and the fake system that's going to tell you that you're other than holy. That's going to tell you other than blameless. I need you to present yourself. And as long as you're presenting yourself and saying it, Now you conforming you're transforming your mind. Why? Because I've been born from above. Paul said, I am not worthy to be called an apostle because I persecuted the church. But he followed up and said, but I am what I am by the grace of God. And that's why Paul would write, I, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ and not by man. I'm going to call myself what he called me and not what you think of me. That is what transforms the mind when I repeatedly say what he has said about me.
Okay, and I love that. I love that. And I would say this here too, though. In 2025, that can be like, I mean, you have to be a strong person to call yourself what he calls you. And what I mean by that is you have so many people that are gifted with extraordinary gifts and ideals and everything. And as soon as they go out and they self-proclaim themselves, or not so much they self-proclaim, they recognize who he has called them to be and they start saying it, then you're faced with the ridicule of the world. You know, people like, oh, here's another author, or here's another podcaster, or here's another business owner. So what do you do in those moments? Because those moments can be discouraging to even step out and do it.
Why is it going to be discouraged? Because Arby's still in business.
This is how to tell them they couldn't do it. They suck.
I never seen a line around Arby's. But I never see Arby's packed. But Arby's still in business. Right? So it's not about if I can get to the point and get delivered from what people think and what people say and get more focused on what my Father says, that's the biggest hurdle. Because guess what? I've yet to see anybody complain at 3 a.m. that's walking out of club that won't walk to that truck who got a grill on the back selling barbecue sandwiches. Nobody's saying, well, that's not a restaurant. No, they're hungry. And whether that man got a food truck or not, he has what somebody wants in that moment. Kentucky Fried Chicken, I'm barely seeing people at KFC, but they still in business. And so that's why I encourage people, whatever God's given you to do, go do it. I don't need everybody. I don't need the whole world to buy my product. I need the people that the Lord has sent me to deliver to. No different than freedom. It took me 13 years to start Freedom, and the Lord gave it to me in 1997, 98. We didn't start until 2011, because I was like, the last thing anybody needs is a new church, especially in Dallas. And my church is in a 10 mile radius of Friendship West, DC3, Full Gospel Holy Temple, OCBF, Antioch. And I was like, that's the last thing. It's the last thing. But here we are 13 years later and making an impact and making a difference. It's not about me. So.
Yeah. I love that. And you know, I'm with you all the way.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I'm with you all the way, but I also just know that there are people that are still like doubting themselves. God has called them to do some great stuff. But they are surrounded. They're hitting that wall. And then they're hitting that wall, but they're also surrounded by people who, people who are, they give them an ideal. And you and I talked a little bit about this on Saturday, but they share with them what they're planning to do. And then these people in their circle, they discourage them.
Haters.
So
go on and say it.
Haters. But the funny thing is, it's not always people are hating on you. Sometimes people hate themselves, and they do not want to see you get ahead. They want to. So let's talk a little bit about that. Because
let me tell you, this is what I learned. There are some people I met in my valley, but it was their mountain peak. I'm gonna say it again. There are some people I met while I was in my valley, but it was their mountain peak. And so what ends up happening is, while I'm in my valley, that's a low frequency for me. but it's a high frequency for them. And because I was in the valley, I met this person and built a relationship, but they couldn't understand that I was in my valley eventually, right? If I get committed to who I am and what my purpose, I'm going to start climbing my mountain, right? As I start climbing my mountain, my frequency is on a whole different level. The problem was what keeps people in the valley is they'll experience their mountain peak every now and then instead of experiencing it without interruption. God wants you to experience your mountain peak without interruption, right? So the thing is, we'll experience our mountain peak, but we'll go back to the valley. Watch this, because we have emotionally ties to the people in our valley. Because that person that was at their mountain peak and we were in our valley, they were meeting 3 of our 6 emotional needs. And because they were meeting emotional needs, we feel like we still got to stay tied to them, and it's keeping us from our mountain peak. And so these people will do whatever they need to do to keep you down, keep you from moving forward. They will ridicule you. They'll talk about you. They'll even despise you and things like that. But man, what I learned is when I operate on my frequency and my mountain peak, everything I need and who I need is there. Because I'm gonna attract what I need and who I need on that level. And guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna water my seed. They're gonna water my seed. And I think what happens is so many times because of relationship with certain people, whether it be family, whether it be because they we were cool for so many years. But man, if you're not pushing me and challenging me to get to my mountain peak, and I'm not pushing and challenging you to be at your mountain peak, and we can't have honest conversation with each other without placing any blame to keep each other accountable, then you're not helping. You're not helping.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, though. It's like I don't think we're afraid of going to the next level. Some of us are afraid of going to we're afraid of cutting off people. We're afraid of cutting off people. So, because we feel that once we go to this new level, we're going to be all alone. And I love what you just said. God already have people ready for you at that next level. You just may have to transition there by yourself, but somebody's waiting for you once you get there.
And this goes back to the beginning of our conversation. If I'm at my mountain peak by myself and I'm there by myself for an extended amount of time, then you know what that means? That means I didn't build any ladders. I'm not going back to help somebody to come to that level. What good is it me if I'm the only person in my crew that can shop at Louis Vuitton? What good is it if I'm the only person I'm associated with can take a vacation and go somewhere exotic or extravagant? That's selfish, right? So not only do I have to get to my mountain peak, but as a leader, right, and being an influencer, now I got to go back and get somebody and bring them along. Okay. And hopefully they can surpass me.
Okay, so that's a good question, Paul, because sometimes we go back and we get cousin Bobo. Bobo. He's trying to stay over there in Cadillac Heights. He's trying to stay over there off of Cedar Crest.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Cedar Crest. I grew up over there. You grew up in that area.
I grew up on Cedar Crest. That's right. Yeah.
So we know nothing wrong with that, but we ain't on Cedar Crest no more.
Right.
Some people, you. How do you know who to go back for? How do you know who to go back for?
That's a good question. And so for me, I listen for keywords and I present something and see what your action and what your drive is. Things you can tolerate, you can't change, right? So if this is something you want and we sit down and we discuss these things and we come up with the plan, your grind is going to tell me everything. And your grind is going to tell me when you're ready for the next. And I'm going to always be available when you're ready for the next. I can't tell you how many times I've had it, and probably you had, and probably our viewers have had it, where somebody's come to you for help and you've given them the strategy, you've given them the things to do. 3-4 months later, they come back and they're in the same place. And you be like, well, did you do what I told you to do? No, I ain't do it. I can't help you until you do step number 1.
Yeah.
It goes back to, man, I was going down Lancaster And you know, Lancaster and 20, there's a gas station, there's a Popeyes right there, right? On Lancaster and 20, right? So before I get there, I pass this car right there on Lancaster. What's that? Camp Wisdom or Simpson Stewart or whatnot. As soon as I passed that light, I seen a guy sitting in the car. Car's broke down. He's sitting in the car. I get up to 20 in Lancaster, and I'm coming out the gas station, and I see this guy pushing his car. I immediately got up and got out and started helping him. Why didn't I help the first person? Because I didn't see them trying to help themselves. But the second guy, when I saw him trying to push, it was like, oh, I got to get out and help. It was without thought. And that's the difference. When we see people and experience people that's trying to help themselves, then we could get out and help.
Okay. I love that. I love that. So yeah, because and I think, that's just the human side of us. We are taught, we want to help people rise with us. We want everybody to go with us. And then, but I'm recently learning myself is that sometimes, sometimes you just have to let people be on their own schedule. It doesn't mean that they're not gonna, they don't mean that they're not gonna get there. They're just not ready to go right now, and you let them go on and do and be the best version of themselves where they are today, and you move on. Because
you said I learned how to let people go.
I learned how to let people go. Because it is like for real, like you will wear yourself out trying to pull people up where you are. It's tiring if they're not ready to move up yet. And like they may be okay at that level that they're on. Let them be that best version, and you love them where they are, but it doesn't mean that you got to like still hang out and all this other stuff with them. No.
Let me tell you where I learned that lesson. We read in the Bible where Moses struck the rock. He got furious. And he struck the rock because he was trying to lead the people somewhere they didn't want to go. He was trying to take them to a promised land. All they wanted was some food and water.
Let that sink in, people.
Once I find out that, oh, you're not trying to go there, you content with where you are, then I can't help you. I'm gonna let you be what you want until you're ready to move forward. Sometimes you can want more for somebody than what they want for themselves. And that goes back to that poverty mindset.
Okay, but that's another. Like I said, that is something that I've even struggled with is letting people go in the past. That is something that I've struggled with because you want to see everybody win. Right. You want to see them win. And like I said, I had to learn that my definition of winning is not everybody's definition of winning.
Exactly.
They're winning in their eyesight. In my eyesight, you ain't even on the field. You ain't even on the football field. So okay.
Right.
So okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this here. So Paul, in regards to business, let's say for instance, someone is like, how do you coach leaders that are in that small business owners to take their business to the next level? They're doing good where they are, but they could do better. How do you show them, hey, you could do better?
Man, that is an amazing question. That's a real good question. I don't get asked that question enough. So
you're on the Dope Ass Dude podcast, man. What you
expect? So one of the things I do is ask the question, why aren't you achieving that level of success that you want? What is getting in your way? Right? And then I ask them, what happens if you don't change in the next 12 months? What if nothing changes in the next 12 months? What's the result? What happens if things do change in the next 12 months? What do you want more of your people to be doing and what you want less of them doing? personal, what you want to be doing more of, and what would you like to be doing less of? And then we ask the question, well, what have you tried? And all I'm doing is shaping the mindset around that. Number one, you haven't tried everything. Number two, your mindset and being open to creativity to let's find a different strategy, right? And I need to know what the goal is. What's the ultimate goal? And if I can get you that ultimate goal ahead of schedule, then what's next? So I'm asking, okay, we hit that, then what? Okay, we hit that, then what? We hit that, then what? I'm gonna stretch your vision as far as I can, right? And then I give an assessment that lets me know how you choose to behave in situations. It lets me know what drives and motivates you. And it also lets me know how you go about making decisions and how you think about yourself. It shows me exactly where your talent and gifting is and your genius. And it shows me where your blind spots are. Through that, we can navigate and start helping you reach that level of success that you're looking for, and making sure we building a team around you and putting people where their strengths are your blind spots. And this assessment also lets me know how you think about you when you think about you. And so from that assessment, we investigate the reality without placing any blame. And we find out what's going on with you. Again, we find out where that barrier is, so we can build a strategy to get that breakthrough that you needed, and get a strategy where you can use to maintain that level of success. So it's very strategic. Everybody's different. Everyone's awareness is different. But I don't go into it without prayer. I don't go into it without the Holy Spirit leading and guiding me on how to handle the situation. And I am aware that everybody's not my client either.
So what's not your client? Let's get to it. What's not your client?
What's not my client?
Well, who's not your client?
Who's not my client? Yeah, a person that's not open for change, a person who will stay in a gap mentality instead of a gain mentality, and just a rude person who doesn't uplift the people around them, and a person that's transactional and not transformational. I work better with transformational people and not transactional people. And so there are times where I've been offered a good substantial amount of money to work with a business or a person, and I turned it down because it wasn't worth my stress. Yeah, wasn't worth my stress.
Okay. So let me ask you this here. So, like, how do people get awareness? Because I'm learning more and more each day. Some people lack awareness. Self-awareness, business awareness. Some people truly lack awareness. So for business owners, again, that's trying to take their stuff to the next level,
right?
How do you gain awareness? How do you gain awareness?
That's a good question. So one of the things we do to help people get awareness so they can operate in their genius and operate in their talent is through this assessment I have. It's called an advanced insight assessment. So awareness and authenticity are the two things that's required for you to operate in your genius and operate in your talent. I believe God doesn't give out strengths and weaknesses. God gives out talents. God does not give you a weakness. He gives you a talent. The only time you have a weakness is when you try to manufacture what he didn't give you. When you try to force in what he left out and you lean on that for success, then you manufacture a weakness. You have a strength when you lean on what he gave you for success. So as much as I can go to, what's that, find your note that Gay does, I can go to 1,000 of those. My gifting is not singing. I can call Gay up right now and be like, hey, let's do 2 months of singing lessons, right? And we'll go through it. All I'm doing is manufacturing a weakness. I'll get better, but it's not natural. So why am I spending so much time on something that's not natural and trying to force in what he left out instead of just go hiring somebody who can sing for me? And I stay in my lane, right? And so that's the type of level of understanding and commitment and self-awareness that we bring. Self-awareness is an investigation, interrogation of self. Authenticity is a conviction to remain true of what you found. And that's what we push so that you can operate in your genius. I already know what I'm good at and what I'm not. So the things I'm not, why do it?
And I love how you are saying operating your genius. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. So when you tell people that, like, hey, we want to find out how so you can operate in your genius, how do they normally respond to that?
Shocked, because most people have a low valuation of self when they think about themselves. And so when I can reinforce, hey, no, you have a talent. And by the end of we working, we're going to focus on that talent and you're going to operate on your genius. Why? Because we're going to know the vision for your life. And you're going to be aware of what to say no to and what to say yes to based off what drives and motivates you and what your talent is. You get to operate in your genius. You don't have to know everything. Know where your talent is and where your blind spots are and build around it. And you'll be a genius all day. You'll be a genius all day. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because I think, we are taught that we're supposed to be modest and not confident in ourselves and not confident in our gifts and our talents.
Who said that?
Boy, let you go there. You like, I'm a genius. I'm a genius. They be like, you are right.
Sit down. Hey, where we from? Yeah, sit down with your big head self. Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't no genius. Yeah, you ain't smart. But yeah. But it's like when people hear you say stuff like when you see them how they are and as God sees them, I'm always amazed when you compliment someone and it's a struggle for them to receive it.
That was me. And it's still me at certain points, right? Because I don't see what everybody else see, right? And I get emotionally attached to the negatives because what you heard me say in the beginning, I'm a perfectionist. And my perfectionism speaks to my spirituality and my pride. I take ownership that I'm a perfectionist. I don't like it, but I take ownership because it keeps me humble. And so when I'm able to help people to create a mission statement about themselves, if you heard me say I'm a perfectionist who likes to lead others in a unique way towards a victory, that lets me know where my sweet spot is, and it lets me know where it's not. And the fact that I take ownership of that, me being a perfectionist, again, I don't like it because it speaks to my spirituality, right? I'm not perfect, right? But I seek to be perfect. I want everything perfect, which now lets me know at times I may have control issues. And because I've had control issue means at times it challenges my faith. Wow. And so I take ownership of that.
Paul, you're so humble. When they tell me I'm a perfectionist, I'll be like, no, I don't want it. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't want it perfect. I want it right.
Yeah, you do. Right. Yeah.
Whatever your perfect is, that's what I want it. I want it right. So I need you to give me 100 of you. And we good. I'm not expecting to hear what I heard on the CD, but I'm expecting for it to be right. So yeah. You so humble, man.
Yeah. So that's what it is, man. But I love it, man, because I get to help people explore themselves, man, and help them find the kingdom with it, which is inside of them. Let me give you an example, man. I was working with this young lady, and within first 10 minutes of my conversation with her, she said 6 times, "I'm a single mother. I'm a single mother." And I'm trying to, see what's going on. Well, I'm a single mother. Well, I'm a single mother. I'm a single mother. And I had to pause, tell her to hit the pause. Excuse me, hold on. You're not a single mother. That's your situation, but it's not who you are. And until we can change that identity, we're not going to be able to move into what God has for you and where you're trying to go. So number one, I'm going to need you to stop saying, I am a single mother. That's your situation, but that doesn't define who you are. And so after we got done, we was able to help her create that mission statement. And within a month, she relaunched her catering business and had 3 clients within a month. changing the mindset, changing what you say, changing how you see yourself. I'm going to need you to see yourself the way God sees you and not your situation. Your situation does not define you. If you let it define you, poverty mindset going to limit you and you won't move forward.
Wow. Wow. And I love that. I love it because words are so powerful. And I think we just use words and they flow out of our mouths and we don't even think of the impact that the words are having, on our future, on our
Right.
present and everything. Because we sometimes, man, we speak poorly to our own selves.
Right.
And it's horrible, man. But we've all been there. So I've been there. I've had moments where I didn't speak positive to myself.
Right.
I could affirmed everything everyone else was telling me. But yeah, you have to just grow into that to like start every day. I try to see myself as God sees me. That's what I really
Yes.
try. And I know he see me as a good
Mhm.
person and he beautiful. He created me smart, all of these type of things. And that's how I try to see myself. And I work to be that person every day. So
Mhm.
yeah, words and how we think about ourselves changes everything, people. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. So you guys drop some questions in the chat
Man,
because
yeah,
we
just ask
almost
some
done.
questions, please.
Yeah,
Make some comments, ask some
toss some
questions.
questions.
Yeah.
What y'all got out there?
I love it. I love to be asked questions because it opens me up, man. It can really get me to turn that flow on. So any questions? Uh Absolutely. Any questions? I
So
will
what
say
y'all
this while we're waiting on some questions, man. I had to also reshape how I parent. I love being a father, and man, I was raising my children with the same fears that I had growing up. And so, man, I have this ideal in my mind on what they should be and what they should do based off my upbringing. And so, man, I was raising them with my fears. And so, man, I would fuss at them about stuff and different things, man. And they would look at me like, man is crazy. Because their situation, far from my situation, is not even close. But that's part of that, transforming that mind, man, and getting rid of that poverty mindset, you know. So,
Okay, so was that a hard thing? Because we haven't gotten into questions yet. So was that a hard thing? Because
okay.
people label that nowadays as
Hmm.
generational curses. They would label that
Right.
as
Right.
generational curses. So for
Right.
you, it's great again. Here we back to awareness. He has self-awareness,
Right.
self-awareness.
Yeah.
But was it a hard transition for you to break those curses and like start?
Man, absolutely. Because let me tell you, like I know in the area we grew up and in the trauma in that area, right? You have to watch your back 24/7. And so these fears and paying attention and being aware of your surroundings and knowing, having to grow up early, I'm forcing that on them because I don't want them to have my failures. But their situation is not my situation. And one of the things I learned with that was one of the mistakes that Job made in the Bible, his fear that his children would curse God. So he would go and make these sacrifices all the time. And that's what opened the door for the devil to come in. And Job came back and said, the thing I feared the most has come upon me. And so to remove those fears that my children would fall victim to the things that were there when I grew up, I had to break that cycle. They're not experiencing what I'm experiencing. And so why would I put that on them? I'm putting it on them. Me. And it was like, no, it's my job. I'm not raising children, I'm raising adults. And so now it's more of conversation with them to find out what their desires are and help them move in that direction.
Okay, we got a question for you.
All right, cool.
Which is easier to transform, the mind or the heart?
Woo, Miss Shaw, that's a great question. And I'm gonna give it to you the way I got it, right? In the Bible, the word heart is translated to the word leb, L-E-B, which means the mind. So the heart and the mind is the same thing. The heart is just the core of the mind, the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions. And so when the Bible speaks of the heart, it's speaking about the mind because that's where the battleground is. The battleground is in the mind. And that thing you cherish the most, we'll say that's the heart of the matter, because that's your ultimate concern. And where that ultimate concern is where we call the heart of the matter. And so there's a book by Paul Tillich, the German theologian, that's called The Ultimate Concern. And he takes you on this theological journey that deals with your psychological approach, your theoretical connection, and your emotions to find out what your ultimate concern is in life. And that heart of the matter and the mind of the matter, right? Out of the abundance of the heart, out of the abundance of the mind, where my mind is focused on and what I'm thinking, the mouth speaks. So my mouth is actually revealing and leaking what's the abundance on my mind. And so that's why we got to get this word in our hearts, in our mind, right? So we'll know what word to throw out for each situation. So that's a great question.
Love it. Love it. So got another question from Gay. And Gay, you should have said, Paul, is get your note, not find your note.
Oh, there you go. Hey, for me, I got to find I got to find it to know where to go get it. Hey, I walked up in this church and the musician said, hey, man, what's your note? I was like, I don't know. We're going to find it together.
So Gay said, how long does it take to realize that the people that are with you, their time is up?
Oh, that's good. That's good. When they no longer watering your seed. When they are not watering your seed and they're not contributing, then maybe where direction you're headed that's not for them. I'm realizing as I shift and as I grow, there are people that are shifting and growing with me, and they're watering my seed. And the most important time that I have my seed is when it's in its incubator form. And that's when I have to protect it the most. So I can't tell everybody what I'm doing, because they'll come in and try to kill it, like we talked about earlier, those haters. But when I find those people that's with me and ready to transition with me, and they watering my seed and they giving me strategies, and they're like, hey, whatever you need me to do, I'm here. Versus those people say, you think you can do that? You think that's wise? You ready for that? Hold on. You should have been on this journey with me to know what I'm ready for. And you should be willing to help me get to where I'm ready for. And so that's how I gauge it. When you're no longer helping me and watering my seed, and it's going to come down to what's coming out of your mouth. Yeah. And like I said, God will put people in your life at the right time to help you. Just like Gay, I'm like, when the next one? I'm waiting on the next one.
Me too,
Gay. When the next pop up, Gay. Yeah.
You and got both of us in.
Yeah. And Gay, we supposed to be doing the other thing, the what you call it, where people just pop up and start singing somewhere. What you call it? Man, I can't think of it right now. Gay, you know it. You need to type it in the thing. You know when you walking in a mall or something, and people just come together and start singing.
Ain't mob. What is that called?
Yeah, flash mob, like the flash mob type there.
Okay.
I told Gary, like, yeah, you got to show up in a restaurant somewhere, you in a group of people, and just start singing so people can see what you do and inspire people. But you know, hey, yeah, that's it, Gay, flash mob. But we waiting on the next. Matter of fact, Gay, I need you for we need to talk offline. I need to talk to Gay. I need to call Gay tomorrow.
So Gay, he gonna call you tomorrow. If you don't hear from him, you call me and I'm gonna make it happen. So we got another question for you. How can you bring your vision to life when you lack a sense of qualification?
Ooh, that is good, Miss Critton. That is good when you lack a sense of qualification. So that depends on what that vision is, right? One of the things I'm a proponent of, right? What I love about the vision, if the vision is bigger than you, then that's it. That's it. And the reason why that's it, because the only person that can bring you to it is the Father, right? And so my qualification can't be based off man's qualifications. The qualification has to be strictly built on the fact that God put the desire in my heart. He said he gives you the desires of your heart, right? Now, watch this. He's going to give you the desire. That desire turns into a vision. How? In your image maker. It becomes an imagination, and you're going to see it to completion, right? Now, once you see it to completion, again, that's when we go back and we start writing down the things that it's going to take to get there. Watch this. This is very important. Don't write down the little thing. Write down the big thing. Once you write down the big thing, now you're setting the pace for the big thing and not the little bitty things. What we tend to do is minimize everything. Oh, I'm going to just do this little bit. I'm going to do this little bit. I'm going to do this little bit. And then when it's time to do the big thing, guess what? You don't have no win because you didn't prepare for the big thing. So if you're preparing for the big thing, that lack of sense of qualification, once you start moving in what it is God wants you to do, he's going to give you what you need when you need it. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you what happened to me, what slowed me down, Ms. Critton, is I start focusing on the prayer, Lord, give me this day my daily bread. He's already taken care of my end of the month, or he's already taken care of my 2 years from now. I got to focus on doing what I need to do today, each day, that when I get to that 2-year mark or the end of the month, everything I need is going to be provided when I need it. And that's the faith. And I'm going to move in that faith so I can see the miracles of God and know that I can't contribute to anybody else. He's going to send the person. He's going to send the resource. He's going to send what I need when I need it because it's him. And so let me say this, and I'll end it with this. The house or the building that you walk into was built 3 times before you ever walked into it. The first place, it was built in the imagination and it was completed. The second place, when it was written down in blueprints and it was completed. The third time is when the construction went together based off what was written down, based off what somebody had in their imagination. So don't let the lack of money stop you. Don't let any lack of resources stop you. If you move in what he showed you, make yourself resourceful and the resources will come to you. And that's what I live by, and that's what I move by.
And, just to piggyback off of what you just said, and I agree with wholeheartedly everything that you said, but if the vision was given to you, you were qualified because he gave you the vision.
Exactly.
The lack of a sense of qualification, that's still a self-approval of people. You're looking for approval of people. And the whole thing about when God gives you something or you're shifting to new levels, he's going to bring the people that are supposed to support you in there. If you're still trying to give it to people who aren't ready to receive it, like your people in your immediate circle, sometimes vision requires us to go outside of our circles. And we have to be confident enough in the vision that God gave this to me, that I know he wants me to fulfill. And like you said, he's going to provide all the resources. And the resources may not look like nobody nothing you've ever seen. It may look completely different. That lack sense of qualification, that's just looking for approval of people. And half the people we looking for approval, they ain't even doing nothing. They can't even see right in front of them. You better get out of my face with that.
And watch this. How can I expect for somebody to give me something when they not seeing what I'm seeing?
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So, Paul, this has been amazing, man.
Absolutely.
So tell people again, when does your service, when do you have services during the week?
All right. So our church service, we don't have a weekly service right now. Right now, we just stuck on Sunday morning services. We will be starting a weekly service soon. Well, I probably started bi-weekly. Right now, the women have a prayer call every morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then 7 p.m., which has been awesome. But our church services are at 9 a.m. every Sunday in DeSoto, 335 East Wintergreen. And we have an hour, 15, hour and a half service. So we start at 9 promptly, and we're done by 10:15, 10:30 at the latest. And so I believe Sundays people should spend time with their family, come worship and celebrate God, and go spend time with your family. No need to be in there all day. But we have an amazing service. Again, it's free, no matter your denominational background or your social status or anything like that. We focus strictly on the kingdom of heaven and the word of God. And we do that without placing any blame. So that's what we do, man. I like to try to stay low key. That's why people don't know about me. I stay low key. I stay hidden.
There you go right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so and
Yeah,
this is just a plug for Gay. Get your no conference. She's gonna be at Paul's
absolutely.
church again. You'll see it on
Yeah.
my page. I'll be there. Paul will be there. Gay
Yeah.
will be there. So Gay, this is your charge to call Paul. Make this
Yeah, we're gonna
happen.
connect tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Absolutely.
make y'all gonna make it happen, and I'm just gonna be there to support y'all. Y'all know I'm always gonna be there. But Paul, thank you so much for
Man, I
coming on.
appreciate it. Thank you for
Yes,
everything that you're doing. Thank you for everything that you're doing by bringing people on your platform and exposing what they do and how they do it to the community. Big ups to you to share that. Lets you know that you're not a hater, man. You're trying to expose people to greatness. And so, man, my prayers God continues to have his hand on you and blow this thing up as far as you can see it. And anything I can do to help and contribute to it, man, I'm here for you.
you know what? I feel like I'm supposed to raise my hand and say, "May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're having
You see
this."
a benediction goes right there. For
Yeah,
sure.
but we will see you guys next Monday, 7 p.m. Thank everyone for
Connect
tuning
with
in.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, go out and follow Paul. You guys see
Yeah.
his information scrolling across the screen. Instagram, preach_Garrett. TikTok at preach1, and that's with 2 E's, not EA, but with 2 E's. So go connect with him. Follow this brother because he is phenomenal. And yeah, just go ahead and do that. And we will see you guys next Monday. All right, then. Peace.